What's up, everyone? Get ready, because today we're diving into Buckshot Roulette, the thrilling, heart-pounding game that took 2023 by storm. Created by indie genius Mike Klubnica, this game fuses strategy with pure luck, and it's absolutely wild. Here's how I built it in VS Code using the C programming language. These are the key concepts you should be familiar with to better understand the code. Global variables, if-else statements, switch statements, while loops, and that's it. Now let's dive into the code. First, we need to include the libraries that we'll be using. The libraries required are stdio, stlibtime, stdbool, next. We declare all the global variables that will be used throughout the code. Here they are: int bullets, int blanks, bool player turn, int player life, int com life, int total. These variables will help manage the game state, track the number of bullets and blanks, and determine whose turn it is. Next, we've declared all the user-defined functions that we'll be creating as we progress through the code. Here's a list of the functions: load game, player turn, com turn, shoot yourself, shoot, com. Now, let's go through each function one by one. First function, load game. This function is responsible for loading the game level and preparing the shotgun. Here's how it works. It accepts an integer called level as its parameter. Based on this level, the shotgun is loaded using a switch statement. At level 1, the shotgun is loaded with 2 bullets and 2 blanks, making it a bit easier to survive. For level 2, things get more unpredictable. The number of bullets is randomized between 0 and 3. To ensure we get a random result every time, we initialize the seed here. Finally, at level 3, the challenge intensifies. The bullets are randomized again, but this time with a range between 0 and 5. So as the levels increase, the game becomes more dangerous and unpredictable. Now let's dive into the second function, player turn. This function is all about giving the player a choice. Should they shoot themselves or take aim at the computer? Here's how it works. The function prompts the player to make a choice and stores their response in an integer variable called choose. Using a switch statement, the code then reacts based on the player's selection. So whether the player decides to shoot themselves or target the computer, the game will respond accordingly, adding an element of strategy and suspense. Com turn. In this function, the computer takes its turn, and fate is decided by a random choice between 1 and 2. Here's the suspenseful breakdown. If the computer picks 1, if there are blanks left, it's a relief. The computer announces a blank, and the gun is handed back to the player. The blank count drops, and the player's turn is back in action. But if no blanks are available, it's a bullet. The computer declares a hit, and the player loses a life while the gun stays with the computer. If the computer picks 2, with bullets still in the chamber, the computer takes a shot, and the player's life is reduced. The gun remains in the computer's hands. If bullets are out, it's a blank, and the gun is transferred back to the player. The blank count decreases, and the player's turn resumes. After the computer's dramatic decision, the remaining lives for both the player and the computer are displayed, and the total number of turns is reduced. Now let's move to shoot yourself. In this function, the player decides to shoot themselves, and the outcome hinges on another random choice between 1 and 2. Here's the high-stakes rundown. If the player picks 1, if blanks are left, it's a relief. The player announces a blank, and the gun stays with them. The blank count decreases. With no blanks remaining, it's a bullet. The player announces they've shot themselves, losing a life, and the gun stays with them. If the player picks 2, if there are bullets, the player takes a hit and loses a life. The gun shifts to the dealer. If bullets are gone, it's a blank, and the gun remains with the player. The blank count drops. As with the computer's turn, the remaining lives for both the player and the computer are displayed after the dramatic shot. Now let's explore the shoot com function, where the player takes aim at the computer. Here's the suspenseful process. The function begins with a random choice between 1 and 2. If the result is 1, if there are blanks available, it's a blank, and the gun shifts to the dealer. The player's turn ends, and the blank count decreases. If no blanks are left, it's a bullet. The player successfully hits the computer. The computer's life decreases, and the gun stays with the player. The bullet count drops. If the result is 2, if there are bullets, the player shoots the computer, reducing its life and keeping the gun. The bullet count decreases. If no bullets are left, it's a blank, and the gun shifts to the dealer. The player's turn ends, and the blank count drops. As before, the function concludes by displaying the remaining lives for both the player and the computer. Welcome to the heart of the game, the main function. Here's how it orchestrates the gameplay. The game starts by setting the players' and computers' lives to 3 each and clearing the screen. The
player is prompted to enter a level, which is then used to initialize the game setup with the load game function. The game enters a loop that continues as long as both the player and the computer have lives remaining. Inside this loop, if it's time for a reload, when total is 0, a reload message is displayed, and the load game function is called to refresh the game state. If it's the player's turn, the player turn function is executed. Otherwise, the comp turn function is executed for the computer's move. Once the loop ends, the game checks the final outcome. If the player's life reaches 0, a "you lost" message is displayed. If the computer's life reaches 0, a "you win" message is shown. The function concludes by returning 0, ending the game. That's the complete code. Feel free to edit and enhance it as you like. You can find the code on GitHub, and I'll pin the link in the comments for easy access. Enjoy exploring and refining the game.